Prepare for price level shock and financial chaos. Hey everybody, you're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. My name is JJ, back with another dose economic reality. Bull to the bust, BX4 News, back in the building. Let's go ahead and get into it, folks. We see the economy that's been propped up on debt, borrowing, and spending is now hitting a tipping point, and we have a lot of consumers now, no longer paying off their credit cards in full each month. In fact, most people, we came to find out, most people are now not paying off their card in full each month. At the 20+% average interest rate right now on the credit cards, things are about ready to hit the fan for a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And how's that going to impact the economy overall? Well, we have a lot of warnings out here today. Not myself. I'm just going to read you what other people are saying, what other outlets are saying, other individuals are saying. We're going to talk numbers, the economy, housing, stock market, a lot of other things. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Please make sure you are subscribed. Appreciate you being here. Let's go ahead and start right here. And this one's out of Fortune. The B.Swan author warns future sell-offs could be 2 to 3 times worse than the deep-seek shock as it reveals how fragile the economy is. And he's talking about how the DeepSeek announcement came out and basically kind of slaughtered or decimated the NVIDIA stock. Will NVIDIA recover? Well, it's already recovered some, but he's warning of a lot of other things. And as you can probably see with the name of the book that he wrote, B.Swan, he tends to err on the side that things look good until you get a big disruption, and then everything goes down. The multi-billionaires sell off all their stocks all at once. You see big crashes. You see volatility, booms and busts, just like bull, boom, bear, bust. You see booms and busts. The thing with the last 10 to 15 years, we haven't seen much of a bust. Even with the disruptions in 2020, all the measures that were taken actually were inflationary. They stopped the markets from correcting. Stocks should have came down by 70, 80%. Home prices should have came down by 60 to 75%, according to my estimates. Prices should have came down. The cost of living should have came down with all the job losses, all the loss of income, everything else, the economic activity dropping off a cliff with a lot of people staying at home for a while. But instead, they found ways to prop everything up, to keep the bubbles getting bigger, to keep price levels elevated and even go higher, inflationary, folks. And many will say that's what's going to happen with the next crisis, the next situation, the next economic shock. But what the author here says, the B.Swan author, quote, "This is the beginning of an adjustment of people to reality." He used the word reality. What do I say here? Economic reality. People are waking up to economic reality. 4 years ago, when prices of everything started going up, the talking heads came out there, the quote-unquote experts, the economic engineers. They came out and said, it's temporary. What's the word? I haven't talked about this in a few weeks. I forgot the word. Transitory. They said it was transitory, folks. And they're the people getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and read off of a script at these press conferences, at these Q&A sessions. They're paid to read off of a script and tell us how everything's doing with the economy. And they got it completely backwards. We actually got it right here in this channel, just like most things. There's a couple areas we haven't really nailed to the wall, but we've been pretty accurate here in this channel as far as telling you what's going to happen with the cost of living, with home prices. We told you years ago there's going to be no housing bubble bust because all the measures they're taking to keep the bubble inflated. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then subscribe, because we get into that pretty often here. The housing bubble is kind of where this channel kind of got started. I think, was it 2018? 2018 or 19, I can't remember exactly. I put out a video that wasn't even going to have a channel. I just put out a video that said at that time, home prices surpassed the peak from late 2008, early 2009, those peaks in the housing market. And I was just going to put out one video. There wasn't many other people talking about it at that time, so that video did really good. And I decided to go ahead and do a channel and kind of just expand on the whole boom and bust type of thing. But again, over the past 10 years, it's been mostly boom, boom, boom. Even the bust had been propped up, and it was more of a trampoline. Prices dropped initially, then boom, things went back up. Remember, the price of oil dropped, price of rents and home prices even dropped temporarily. Even vehicles, right at the beginning, right before all the rescue programs, all the stimulus checks, all the freezes of foreclosures, the freezers of evictions, and everything else that came along with it. So it was kind of like a trampoline floor where it didn't just stop prices from going down, it stopped them and then shot everything, pretty much everything, sky high to the stratosphere with the cost of living. All right, but back to this author here. Just some facts here. Since OpenAI released ChatGPT in November 2022, launching the current AI boom, NVIDIA stock has soared more than 700% as demand for its chips have exploded. Also, along the way, it raised alarms that the overall stock market rally has grown too dependent on NVIDIA and a handful of other big tech companies. And just that sell-off recently from NVIDIA erased over 3% off of the index there, the NASDAQ. NASDAQ came down more than 3% as that happened. All right, here's another warning, folks. U.S. egg prices expected to climb further as farms are strained by more bird illnesses. About almost 15 million egg-laying hens have been affected as the price of eggs climbs as much as 40 cents in a week, folks. They're already almost $9 a dozen here in California. I think we're one of the worst states for these prices of eggs, but it's going to get worse. People thought that as soon as the new administration took over that prices were going to come down, folks. Right now we're seeing the opposite. And we've got a lot of media outlets also giving us a warning here. Let me just bring up some recent examples here. And this is as tariffs just took effect here in the past, 48 hours against China, Mexico, and even Canada. And here's just some of the headlines. And you may disagree or agree with some of these outlets, as some of these outlets have been very wrong on a lot of things. If you look back, the tariffs threaten to upend global economic order. The tariffs are a $1.4 trillion gamble with the economy and prices. Tariffs aim a wrecking ball at the economy of the Americas. These are pretty strong words out of these publications. That was Bloomberg. Self-inflicted wound for the American economy. And I think they're going to be inflationary, folks. Tariffs, inflationary. I know there's been mixed opinions on that here on this channel. Again, please let me know what direction things are headed. Because of these tariffs, I'll read your comments on this channel. I think it's going to be inflationary. Do you think companies are going to run back to the U.S. because of some 25% tariff? Even if they do, it's not going to be overnight, folks. The prices are going to be very noticeable very quickly. But companies coming back to the U.S., closing down overseas, coming back to the U.S., opening up, hiring a bunch of people, getting everything going, it's going to take months and years for that to happen. So how much pain are the American people going to feel economically, financially, before these companies actually come back and open up shop? So it's going to be very interesting. And we're going to see if these outlets are right, if the current administration is right, who's saying that this is the solution. And buckle up, folks, because I don't think we're going to see anything that we've ever seen before. I think it's going to be very different from anything that we've seen in the past. And we know when things start falling apart with the economy, the measures that they come in to quote unquote rescue the economy or rescue people usually is inflationary because it involves more borrowing and more printing. Yeah, and I wish that wasn't the case, but that's economic reality, folks. And here's something else. Here's how they put it here in a recent article. The significant new tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China are sparking retaliatory actions. And what are they saying here? They're saying that just hours after the announcement of the tariffs, Mexico came out and said their country will impose retaliatory tariffs. Canada also said they came out and said far-reaching retaliatory levels. China's commerce industry said it would file a complaint with the WTO and, quote, take corresponding countermeasures, unquote, without elaborating further. So what do countermeasures mean? So it's going to be very interesting, folks, to see how this all plays out, of course. All right, a couple more. AP put it like this. Inflation is lingering and tariffs could nudge prices in the wrong direction. NPR, prices will be a key issue, but the current administration makes it clear that that's not their top priority. Wait a second. Not their top priority. I thought his whole spiel and campaign was about bringing the cost of living down, making things more affordable, making it easier for people. Did he really come out and say that it's not top priority now? That's very interesting. New tariffs may complicate the Fed's quest to lower inflation. So at the same time as announcing these tariffs, we know that the administration right now is calling for lower interest rates. So it's pretty interesting. When they see they're causing inflation in one area, they want to demand lower interest rates in another area to help offset it. And here's another one. The Fed's go-to inflation gauge heats up again and continues. One of the key gauges of inflation moved higher in December, driven largely by energy and food prices, folks. Also, we have a lot of people facing financial shock over in Hawaii. Remember the eviction moratoriums that came out a few years ago? Well, they're now ending in Maui, and now prices are even higher than they were when the moratoriums were implemented, right? So now it's even more difficult, and the evictions moratoriums are ending at the same time. So what's it going to look like over in Maui? So prices are a lot higher now because of the wildfires than they were back when these eviction moratoriums were implemented. So then what do? Do you put in permanent eviction moratoriums, like no one can get evicted ever? So then people are just squatting for life? I mean, it sounds silly, but what are they going to do? I mean, to prevent this massive fallout because of the high cost of rents that people cannot afford, especially over in Maui. All right, but it's not all pain everywhere. In fact, there's some good news here. We're going to sprinkle in some good news. Depending on what side of the fence you're on, this is good news. Over in Denver, metro apartment rents fell $70, the largest drop ever for the region. It's gotten a little easier to rent as unit prices and vacancies surged, and unit prices fell, the highest level in years, largest drop ever. Now, $70, let's see here. The average rent of an apartment in the fourth quarter was $1,850, about $70 less than the third quarter. So $70 a month, right? So you look at that for a year, that's what, over $800 in a year. So not a lot, but it's a little bit of good news where you see everything else just costing more and more and more, it seems like. So we'll have to see how the rental market holds up in the face of all this consumer debt. Again, more people than ever not paying off their credit card in full each month. And something's got to add up, folks. If they can't pay off their credit cards, how much longer are they going to continue to be able to pay their rents? If not, we're going to see rents drop even more, folks, not just in Denver, but around the country. And overall average, rents are coming down nationwide. Not everywhere, but when you average everything out, they're coming down on average. So we'll see how this plays out, folks. I do see more deflation in rents because most people aren't borrowing money to pay their rents. So rents, the price of rents, the rent levels, the cost is less driven by borrowing and lending versus the real estate market, which is mostly driven by borrowing and lending. And look what else is happening along with all this economic financial shock. U.S. consumer confidence deteriorates further in January. That's out of Reuters. So back to what we talked about. People are starting to feel economic reality now. All right. But again, not all bad news. Here's some more good news. We're going to try to sprinkle in more good news here and there if I find it. And some people say that I purposely pick out negative news. I'm purposely doom and gloom or bearish. I'm not any of those. I'm just reading the news, folks. But here's some possible good news depending on what side of the fence you're on. Honda to invest more than $1 billion into EV manufacturing in Ohio. And you notice it was Ohio, one of the lowest cost states in the country. You know those reports where we talked about how you can buy homes still for less than $150,000 in some areas? Ohio had a lot of cities in that, a lot of Indiana cities, a lot of couple in Pennsylvania. What was the other state that had pretty low costs? Iowa, pretty low cost. So a manufacturing facility in Ohio, it makes sense when you look at if it's lower cost of living, then as a business, you can afford to pay people less. And that's why you saw a lot of businesses exit California because the cost of living here is so high. They went to states like Texas, Tennessee. But yeah, so $1 billion. So people that thought the EV industry was falling, I mean, sales have dropped for EVs, but it's still very strong. And we'll see how this plays out. But at least there are some manufacturing facilities opening up shop here in the country. All right, so we'll see how it plays out, folks. Even the official numbers that they try to juice and that they try to cook or manipulate, even the official numbers are coming down. Remember, in the fourth quarter, we saw 2.3% GDP, which was slower growth than expected. And remember, what they're calling growth, a lot of it's borrowed money, government spending, government jobs. Without those things, growth would have dropped off a cliff. And instead of growth, you might have saw shrinkage, right? So hope you guys like this report. What do you think about all this? What do you think about the Black Swan author and his words of caution? What do you think about most of the news outlets saying these tariffs are going to be highly inflationary and drive up the cost of living? Are they all wrong, right? Or if so, let me know down in the comments what it is and we'll talk about it. Everybody, thanks for being here. As always, keep stacking. Bye for now. We'll see you next time. Peace out.